Call to order the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue Board of Directors meeting of Thursday, July 15th, 2021. This meeting is being streamed live, and anyone who has public comments or questions can text or email information station, and the questions will be relayed to the board members and answered at the end of the meeting. Of course, anyone who's here can ask their questions during the citizen comments and concerns on either end. Can we have the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time we're going to have the administration of oaths of office for the new board members. Ms. Hanson, if you can. And since they are individual board positions, we will do them one at a time.
Okay.
And I will come to you.
Okay.
Raise your right hand.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me.
Okay.
I, Buster Hankey,
I, Buster Hankey,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
do swear I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the laws thereof,
and the laws thereof,
and will faithfully and honorably demean myself
and will faithfully and honorably demean myself
in the office of Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District Director
in the office. Do it one more time.
Central Oregon Coast
Central Oregon Coast
Fire and Rescue District
Fire and Rescue District
Director,
Director,
Position 1,
Position 1,
4-year term.
4-year term.
Term expires
Term expires
06
06
2025,
2025,
to which I have been elected
to which I have been elected
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll have to do that afterwards.
Okay, we could.
I, Todd E. Holt,
Todd E. Holt,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the laws thereof,
and the laws thereof,
and will faithfully and honorably demean myself
and will faithfully and honorably demean myself
in the office of Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District Director,
in the office of the Central Coast Fire and Rescue District Director,
Position 2,
Position 2,
4-year term.
4-year term.
Term expires
Term expires
06/30/2025,
06/30/2025,
to which I have been elected
to which I have been elected
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability. So mote it be.
I,
I, Catherine Menefee,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the laws thereof,
and the laws thereof,
and will faithfully and honorably demean myself
will faithfully and honorably demean myself
in the office of Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District Director
in the office of Central Coast, I forgot, Central Coast Fire, Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District Position 3,
4-year term.
4-year term.
Term expires
Term expires
06/30/2025,
06/30/2025,
to which I have been elected
to which I've been elected
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability. Thank you so much.
And now if we can have a roll call
Rita Egerman,
here.
Buster Banky,
Here.
Todd Holt,
Here.
Catherine Menefee,
Here.
Kevin Battles.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Very good. The next item on the agenda is the election of officers. We have 3 positions available: president, vice president, and secretary treasurer. So we'll open up nominations.
I nominate Buster Pankey for president.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded to nominate Buster Pankey. Are there any other nominations? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries.
She's like,
There you go.
My turn, huh? Okay, what's the next position?
Vice president.
Vice President then. Any nominations for
I
Vice
nominate
President?
Catherine McQuinby.
I can second that.
Okay,
Okay.
and then all in favor of that?
I
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And then, was there any nominations for Secretary Treasurer?
is the secretary treasurer one position?
It is,
We
yeah.
talked about separating it at one point, which we could always do.
It
Because
seems
I always
to me
thought
that
it
would
would
be
seem a little
reasonable.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought it was a little weird. I don't know how we'd go about that. Do you know what the
I thought
ORS
Rita
is
was-
as
I
far as
thought
that? I
Rita
know the
was-
policy states it says one. We were going through the policy manual.
It's really,
That was brought up.
it's really
so-
in your bylaws, whatever you dictate in your bylaws.
Yeah.
Yeah, because our bylaws and our policies basically state they're one. I think we can change that, pretty sure. I don't see why we couldn't, but I think for this, before we change that, we have to elect that one person, and we can always do
And then
it.
we can move forward from there. Okay.
So who wants to do it?
I'll nominate Todd Holt.
We can second that.
All in favor of Todd?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, here we go. All right, well, we have our officers. All right, well, then we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. Has everybody read the minutes?
Yes.
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 Is everybody in agreement with the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay,
I second it.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Then we're going to citizen participation. So what do we do with that?
We just
Well-
ask if anybody in the crowd
Yeah.
has any questions for the board.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions from citizens or?
Or there's another opportunity later on after things have been discussed, to have citizen speak then?
We normally do we have been for, when we do it over the Facebook, for people that want to comment over Facebook, because we're streaming live on Facebook. But I would be open to having that at the end as well. If
I
everybody
think
else
we
is.
actually added it at the end of the
It does
session.
say-
It
Yeah.
says
Okay.
questions.
So, you know, it does.
Yeah, so I don't see why we couldn't. It's in the.
It
Do it at the
Yeah,
end
we can do
then?
that. Yep.
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 That
Sounds
makes
great.
sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then we'll move on to staff presentations.
For training, I'll start with training real quick. So far this year, we've completed a combined 1,451 hours and 0.25 hours of training. We're currently moving through our firefighter 2. Some of them have completed the curriculum, some of them are still working on it. And we're still working with DPSST to get the props over here that we need. And then we'll be moving into fire officer 1 after that. That's gonna complete the first year goal for certification catch-up, if you will. Academy, we'll be hosting the Academy in September. That's, for right now, at least gonna be between us and Newport, and we'll open it up. We haven't had any of the training meetings for the county. So that'll have to be discussed at the county level if more are gonna come down here or not. And for June, we completed 211.5 hours of training combined. So still plugging away at training. Emergency response has been taking up a lot of time, but we're still getting the training in. So for emergency responses in June, we had 19 fires, 70 EMS calls, 6 motor vehicle accidents, 1 water rescue, 9 lift assists, and 3 other assists for the public, for a total of 108 emergencies. So far for July, We've had 10 fires, 40 EMS calls, 6 vehicle crashes, no water rescues, 4 lift assists, and 1 public other assist, for a total of 61 calls so far this month. And total for so far this year is 676, so we're still on track for increasing our call volume from last year based off these numbers. So, go ahead, Eric.
Alrighty, those of you,
Can I ask a question? Thanks. I was just curious, under that fire officer training, how many people are participating in that?
6.
6. And then in the firefighter 2?
I've got more because there's some volunteers that are in that one as well. I want to say it's roughly around 8, but I'd have to go look at the roster to be 100% sure.
Awesome, thank you.
so for the new board members, my name is Eric Knudsen. I'm your maintenance guy / PIO. I'll run through the maintenance report kind of quick. Me and Chief Mason met out in Five Rivers. It's looking pretty horrid right now. I did have a company online to go out there, clean it up, put some new gravel down, make it like we are preaching right now, get that dispensable space. Come to find out, the owners, the Lindsays, were possibly going to sell it. I ended up talking to them last Friday, if I remember right, and I was supposed to hear back. I have not. We put everything kind of on hold because we didn't know what the new owners, when we met with the new owners out there, it was kind of questionable on some things. Some red flags were raised. So I got a hold of, was able to locate their phone number out in Tidewater and called them and talked to Daryl and said, you know, this is what we're been presented with. The file I found on it was they've always dealt with an attorney. So I was kind of shocked that they hadn't come, you know, an attorney come to us and said, you have this 5 acres, we need to negotiate this. But he was very concerned that they had even approached us yet because they had not met an agreement. So tomorrow I was going to call Daryl again and touch base with him. He was leaning towards not selling it to them. So for a lot of the same flags that were raised when we talked to him. So I want to touch base with him before we continue on. So, but that is on the radar to get that cleaned up because that looks
Excuse me,
horrendous.
can I interject in that?
Yeah,
It's written in the deed from the Lindsays that Central Coast Fire has that building and that land
correct.
for eternity. The thing is Jimmy Smith, that lives about a mile away, that has a brush cutting business, he had been cleaning that brush for several years and cleaning that up. And the reason he quit is because he quit getting a letter for a donation of his time to write off on his taxes. And I've spoken with him, and all you need to do is give him a call, and he will go up there and clean that all out for nothing.
Thank you for that information. I was not aware of
Yeah,
that.
he can haul rock and stuff too. so-
Yeah, that'd be great.
But
He
it-
just
but
lives
it-
up the
But
road.
it is written in the deed, because I already checked that out with the county. It's written in the deed that Central Coast has control of that until we deem we don't want to.
Right. And I understand. I read all through all that. It was just the way, and that's what I mean by flags.
Right.
And that's why I wanted to get a hold of the Lindsays and find out what was really truly going on with this sale.
Right.
So
The
we
thing is,
needed to know.
it's really in disastrous condition.
It is.
And
I agree
if you're
completely.
gonna tell other people to cut their fuel load down, I think we need to be the first one.
I agree. I 100% agree. And thank you for that information.
All right.
I did not know that.
Yes.
We just need to make sure that he gets that letter every year so we can continue to
Correct.
count on him.
Yeah,
That's a
absolutely.
big priority.
Now that I know that that's what it takes, I will
Okay.
make sure that happens.
He did it for years, and he just quit because the district never even acknowledged it, so,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not okay.
no.
All we need from him is basically an invoice saying that this is what it would have cost, but I donated this time to you. And then we can in turn give him a letter for that.
Correct.
And we can put it in filing with Brett.
Correct.
Awesome,
Yeah, absolutely.
that sounds great.
Um,
Thank you, Todd.
I'll go over more in detail on Tidewater Station, Station 73, later on. But we do have Tender 73 and Engine 73 up there in the building.
Ready to
now.
roll out
Yeah,
of there.
it is ready to
Oh,
go.
good.
They are all full of fuel full of tools. So.
Because it is the season. for
Yes,
fire.
it is, yeah. And we do have, at Station 74, we have a tender and an engine as well up
Okay.
there, so.
All right, well, that's good.
Down here, we put the new engine in service on July 3rd. If anybody has questions for me on my evaluation of that, I'm more than happy to sit down or even discuss it openly here. The old 72, which we are currently calling 74, while we wait for dispatch to see if we can get 75, because that's what we ultimately want it to be.
Yeah, we got it. It's good to go.
Oh, okay, so we are engine 75 now, is our reserve engine, which Central Coast, to my knowledge, has not had ever. So we have a second engine down here that can go out the door right after the first one, which is huge. So we did get a maintenance or a safety complaint through the safety committee I received in regards to the shop in my chaosness of trying to get Tidewater done and engines fixed and keeping them on the road. The shop got pretty crazy in chaos, so I did get a safety complaint, which was fair, from the union. It has since been corrected. I adjusted the shop basically. We moved the shop into the back of the set bay 2, and which honestly gave a little more space, more storage for parts and supplies and such. And the new, or where the old shop was, is now going to become the transitional room to hopefully start stepping into the cancer prevention type things and saving money on UV exposure to our bunker gear and so on. That's where the lockers will all be going. That's still in the middle and mid-process. So other than that would be, unless you have questions.
We have some equipment over at Seal Rock stored. I'm just curious what we have over there.
The only thing that's still sitting over there right now is the ambulance, and that's because we have the 2 engines in the wildland unit here ready for wildland fires.
Okay, there's just an ambulance over there.
Just the ambulance.
Okay, I just had heard.
The
there
front
was-
mount was over there, but it's back at 73 now. where
Oh,
we're
okay,
supposed to
okay.
go.
And we don't have anything at the Bayshore one?
No, we don't have any. They have an engine and a tender of theirs there.
Okay.
Yep. And there's nothing in their station up in Seal Rock. The ambulance is in the green building that we were using for training. It's got extra storage space.
Okay,
So
thank you.
All right.
Yep, I'm done.
So for the new board members, I'm Judy, I'm the office administrator. I'm also the district photographer. So that'll come up here in a minute. In the front of your books, you should have your email information set up. If you have any problems or any questions, just get a hold of me, I can help with that. Also, when I emailed the board packets, I included the minutes for the last 12 months of meetings. I did not print them out because that's a lot of paper. Also, the last 2 years' worth of budgets. If you need a copy of this year's budgets, I can get that for you too. Also in that was, because we're updating the district policies, as I think a couple of you have heard as we've done through meetings. I sent you what's already been approved, and then next month we'll actually start finishing that up with you. Also in the front of your book for all of you is the SDAO board handbook. Kind of coincides with ours. For the board stuff, if you refer to policy 2.1 through 4.6, that's the district policy for board members. So that's all in that policy stuff that I sent you through email. The handbook I gave Rita and Kevin theirs too, in case they wanted a refresher. Also, you had the little postcards in there. SDAO will send stuff every once in a while. Anything that comes in, I'll put in the front of your book every month. You can take everything out of your book, just please leave the book so I can refill it. So the website, we've been really working hard on keeping it updated and keeping us in compliance. It yells at me when things are not done on time. So for like agendas and stuff, I have to have it in on the Monday prior to the meeting, or it yells at me. The other thing is since we've updated uniforms, we're going to be redoing all the staff and volunteer pictures to get the volunteers, especially on the website, if they are not yet. I would also like to get the board. If you're willing, I'll make it look nice, Rita. So I'll be setting up some different times that I'm available to do that, and we'll just do it right here. I'll probably set up somewhere here in the training room, that way I can have everything set up the same way for each person. So I'll update everybody when I have some different dates available, see which works best for you.
Okay.
If none of them do, just let me know a day that does. If I'm here, we can do it. That's all I have.
All right. Well, then we will move on to the union report.
Well, for the new board members who haven't met me yet, my name is Josiah Booker. I represent the Central Oregon Coast Fire, the professional firefighters of Central Coast Fire and Seal Rock Fire here in Walport. And on behalf of the union, I just wanted to say, thank you to our board members who are still here and the previous board members for helping establish a good relationship. And all of us here at the union are really looking forward to working with you guys to help build on that relationship, improve upon it, so it's mutually beneficial for the community that we serve. So thanks for being here. As far as the union report goes, I also like to thank you for granting us a little bit of time during your meetings. I don't have anything fun to report, but I'd like to use this time in the future to go over some, like a specific incident or something like that, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what we're doing as firefighters in the district. And if you guys have any questions or anything, I'm going to make sure you all have my contact information so you get a hold of me anytime. And welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I appreciate you saying something. We haven't had that in the past. I think that's pretty cool. Putting that in there. Thank you.
All right, well, we will move on to the volunteer report.
My name is Rick Booth, lieutenant and volunteer officer for our volunteers. Our volunteers consist of 14 personnel. We have broken down as fire EMS, EMS only, and admin. 14 of them. In those 14, we have 6 total active volunteers that attend most calls. I have broken it down a little different this time. We have 2 personnel that are about 80% there on the calls because they have a different job during the week and they're here. We have 2 personnel that are about 65% of the time. 1 personnel is 50, 1 person is 30, and it goes down to 0. As far as training that we have attended, on 21st of June, 6 volunteers attended a fire drill night here. On the 28th, we had an association meeting, had 11 volunteers show up. We had no drill on the 5th of July, that was a holiday, national holiday. And on the 12th, we had an EMS drill where 10 volunteers showed up. Noting July 4th weekend and the week before that weekend, I asked Wendy to break out some numbers for me to just show what the volunteers were doing. During that time, we had 1 personnel respond to 5 calls with a major call of Highway 34, that was a wildland fire. And he was on that call for an extended period of time. We had another individual that responded to 4 calls, and he was on the same call of Highway 34. We had 1 personnel that worked 32 and a half hours shifts with the crews on all the major calls out of district. 2 to 3 volunteers come to the station to cover station coverage. On our July 3rd event, which was an all-hands evolution, 9 personnel served during that process, but with most of them, I think all of them came in by 9 o'clock, and all but 3 of them went home at 11 p.m. 3 personnel went home at 2:30 because they were on the fireworks crew as well. Our volunteers are sparse, but they're anxious to work. My other job in the district is I'm the district chaplain, so my concern is to have as many personnel as we have, or as many calls as we can. We have 2 other chaplains that are part of us, and they augment calls as needed. I think that's about it. That's a synopsis of what we've been doing as volunteers.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, then we'll move on to the finance report.
I'm Brett Quick,
Nice to meet you.
and nice to meet you. And I serve as the district, and have for quite a few years. Really enjoy it. Cash in the accounts at the end of June, $734,555. Compared to the prior year, that's down $110,834, but we spent $188,810 for property and upgrades for the title station. That's really where the bulk of that is. So we Net assets for end of June grew by $155,075, which is a step in the right direction. And current levy taxes, $878,611 for the year, which is a growth of 9.8% over the budget. So that's
Pretty good.
pretty normal. Tidewater upgrade, $111,737 this year, which is substantially below the $175,000.
Oh, 175 was budgeted
Yeah.
for.
And payroll, we finished the year under budget by $87,252. The total payroll with benefits and taxes is $538,842, and we budgeted $626,000.
Do you know why that was so far under?
Pardon me?
Do you know why it ended up being so far under what we projected?
I'm not really sure. Fury pretty much stated what he wanted for payroll for the year. So it's based on the information that was established at that time. So we didn't add somebody on that. That's pretty much it.
Gotcha. Not a lot of overtime.
Pardon me?
Not a lot of overtime.
No, overtime was not bad this year at all.
Express.
Years past, it has been. We budgeted 20,000, we spent 17,370. All in all, pretty good year. We still have some bills that will be coming in to finish off the fiscal year.
So when we budgeted the $175,000 for the Tidewater station, but we've only paid $111,000, it's also clear that we haven't finished the Tidewater station either.
Well, we bought it, but we paid for the property too, which was 72,000.
Right.
And I don't think the station's quite ready yet.
No.
We've saved a lot of money on labor, Eric has some really good skills.
Well, no, I guess where my question is just that, just so it's just clear in my mind, is the $175,000 budgeted to complete the Tidewater station, or was the Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was anticipated.
Okay, and then since we have already spent $111,000, is it anticipated that only $64,000 would be needed to complete everything else that we want to be
Based
done?
upon what was budgeted and anticipated at the time.
What did we end up
Will be-
budgeting? Do you remember?
We should be under budget because nobody bid on the roof, and so we actually brought in roofers after, and it wasn't as high as we thought it was gonna be.
No.
And so,
But what do we budget for the next fiscal year? Do you remember? I don't remember off the top of my head.
for the next fiscal year, it's just coming out of the building, the same line
We just
item it
threw
was
it in the
last
building
year.
reserve
the-
fund, okay.
The building reserves. So both those buildings are in the same reserves, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I have any correspondence then?
Oh, I'd like to make a motion to approve the financial report as presented.
Oh, okay.
I didn't hear you, Ken.
Second?
I said I'd like to make a motion to approve the financial report as
okay.
presented.
Good job.
All right. I didn't hear you.
No, you're good. Sorry.
So all in favor, right?
You second it?
I seconded.
Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay.
Make a motion to pay the bills?
Second that.
All in favor of paying the bills?
Aye.
And then you have a resolution for the LGIP that needs to be.
Oh, okay, all right. And we have a resolution for the LGIP authorization.
You want to read it into the record, or do you want me to?
Go ahead, you read it.
Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District Resolution 2021-12. A resolution authorizing bank account signer removals and additions. Whereas the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District has authoritative power to create and maintain checking accounts, equipment levy funds, reserve funds, etc., to maintain operation of the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District hereby authorizes the following bank account changes for the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District. Remove former district board members David Brooks, Peter Carlick, and Timothy Grady as account signers from Oregon Coast Bank checking account, operating account 4709061, Oregon Coast Bank Public Funds Money Market Account, General 4908726, Local Government Investment Pool LGIP Account, Equipment Reserve Fund 6046, Local Government Investment Pool LGIP Account, Building and Property Reserve Fund 6045, Local Government Investment Pool LGIP Account, General Public Funds 6044. Add new district board members Buster Pankey, Todd Holt, and Catherine Menifee, and District Fire Chief Jamie Mason as account signers for Oregon Coast Bank checking account, operating account 4709061, and Oregon Coast Bank Public Funds Money Market Account, General 4908726. Approved and adopted by the Board of Directors of the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District on this 15th day of July, 2021. Signed by the Board President on this 15th day of July, 2021.
Make a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll second it.
Second, there you go. I agree.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so be it.
Okay, so then you need to sign right there,
Right there,
and then write your name in right there. Yeah.
print it
And
and
then
write,
Mom will sign here, so, yeah.
print it and
Yeah.
write.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a requirement of 2 signatures on the checks?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, well now we can move on to correspondence.
So we do have one, a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, dump truck.
Oh, yeah.
Shy and Cody Woods, Silverhawk, soon to be Central Coast. We noticed a dump truck out back smoking. And so they went out to check it out, and it turned out his brakes were on fire. So
Oh.
they helped cool it off, get it done. They brought in a carrot cake and a card that says, "Thank you for your quick response and saving our dump truck," because it could have been a lot worse. They happened to pull into the right spot.
They did.
So that was the only correspondence we got. I didn't touch the carrot cake because I can't eat it, but I heard it was good.
All right. All right, well then, moving on to old business. We got that Tidewater update.
Yeah, so Tidewater, yes, is probably, I'm thinking most of you have gone by. It is fully secured now. I went up there today and, because we were gonna be moving some more equipment, more material up there, I wanted to make sure it was fully secured. We did have a lock get cut off, that Conex that's sitting out there. Luckily, for whatever reason, all my tools are still in there, so got lucky with that one. But I did put a new lock on it, and then I finished securing the main station. Out back, there will be a concrete pad, 24 by 36, I believe, that will house eventually a water tank, the red Conex from here, and a pump system that helped with our ISO points pretty huge when we went through our review. We were going to put a 10,000 gallon tank up there. I think we're going to put a little smaller one because of the pump system I'm putting in. It will fill, well, going into the tank is 19,000 gallon hour pump. Going out of the tank is a 9,000 gallon an hour pump. So it will fill a tender, and by the time it gets that tender even halfway full, it will already start refilling itself on and off. And it will basically shut off probably, I'm hoping, before the tender even gets full is the idea behind the system that's gonna go out there. That way, and it'll draw right out of that creek that's right next to it.
Oh, right out of that creek,
Yeah,
okay.
That's right there. It was established at one time.
Oh,
that
all
there
right.
was water there
I
from
didn't
that
realize
creek.
there was that much water.
So, yeah, even in the, I've watched it for the last, 3 or 4 years, and it will not go, it doesn't go down below a discernible level that could be a concern, or it'll start drawing air. So we could really draw a lot of water.
Well, that's
out
great
of
to have a water supply so close.
yeah, that, it
That's
basically,
huge.
and we'll have a hydrant right out front at the sign, so that
Okay.
whoever's a tender driver or engine can pull up, push a button, it'll flip a valve in the Conex box, which would be the pump house. And hopefully they have it hooked up right, because it's gonna put water where they will.
That's just an electric pump then?
Yeah, it's an all-electric system, so there will be a full backup generator,
Okay.
22,000 watt generator out there on the back pad, propane driven. that will power the whole station, not just parts of it. So everything, and it'll be auto switched. So if power goes out there, which I know is pretty frequent, you probably know that better than I do. It'll just immediately switch over, and it won't, after delayed time of coming back on, it'll turn itself back off. So,
Well, that's huge to have your water supply right there.
yeah, it'll make a huge difference out in that whole area out there. It'll be
Now, do we have a
really
security camera system out there yet?
when the power gets plumbed, which I just talked to the electrician this morning, he's going to start on it on the 26th and do the rough in so that we can get it all roughed in there. And first order of business, so to speak, is to get the power back into the building. Put a meter base up, meter main, and a breaker panel in there so that we can at least run some power since we're dried off. Because right now that thing has been redone completely off a generator. It'll be nice to have some actual shore power there that we can just use on a consistent basis. That starts on the 26th. The concrete he's gonna start the pad out back. All the plumbing parts that go underneath that, which is pretty extensive, because there's some communication lines that go between the main building and the Connex box, the plumbing for the tank, and it'll be set up for future that we can have fresh drinking water. We can add a UV or an ozone filter, or excuse me, UV filter and a 3-filter system that I put together, so that you could actually have good, nice drinking water out there.
Pulling out of that creek?
Right out of that creek.
Okay.
So, yeah, it'll be the tank that'll be there will be a potable water tank.
Okay.
So that, then the water that goes into that Connex, what goes to the hydrant out at the street will just be straight out of the tank. And then, but what goes to, if we wanted to in the future, add water or washing trucks capability, that kind of thing out there, off of that system will go through the filtration and UV system. So it all sounds very expensive, but it's actually all very inexpensive.
Good.
Honestly, because I'm doing it, not, putting the parts and pieces and doing a lot of research about it, so.
But there's no way to have sewer, we can't do a sewer system out there,
We
right?
would have to put a septic out
Just
there.
Yeah.
With a holding tank? Yeah.
And it wouldn't have a drain field, we'd have to put it, honestly, the property goes way back over the hill there, and then out to the highway, but there's nothing width-wise, so to speak,
To do a drain field?
to a
Yeah,
drain
we've
field,
already
so it
got
would
none.
literally be a holding tank in the ground that we'd have to have pumped whenever it got full,
Right.
so.
That's one of the reasons why we looked at trying to get our hands on the property next door, which is the old gas station.
Right.
Because it has a septic system on that property.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we would be able to
it's a
just
well
tie it
lived
over. We also got a grant for the security system for the Tidewater
Yeah.
Oh,
station.
great.
I finished
So-
answering that question.
Well, that's
That's what
great.
I thought I had remembered.
Yeah, there'll be cameras all the way around. The door controllers eventually will all go to key access cards that also you guys will get when we go to that system, to where instead of a codes, everybody will get an ID printed card, RF card, they just scan out the door. And it will be here, it'll be Tidewater, 5 Rivers until we figure out power and phone. It will just still be a key code, but it'll have that RFID so that we'll know who's what, when, where, how. Cameras will all be tied to it, to where when they scan it, the Tidewater will disarm the system, to where, because all the windows will be protected, they'll have cameras that pick up motion, as well as doors, any doors that get breached. The other thing that's being put in is 2 exhaust fans in the back of the building that, off the automation part of it, when the doors open, those fans will kick on, because like I fired up Tender 73 today, and wow.
Smoke.
When it sits for a while, it gets a lot of smoke.
Well,
So
diesels tend to do
it'll,
that.
the ceiling will be painted black so that it'll, for maintenance reasons, that way it's not turning
Won't
the
see
ceiling
it.
black. And the exhaust fans will get that, diesel exhaust out of that building pretty quickly.
That makes sense.
The fans are designed to turn the air over every 4 minutes in that entire building, in that cubic feet. So
What's the time schedule on this, the ETA?
I'm gonna start with, the electrician, I've been kinda waiting on electricians and concrete people. They're all really, really busy. Like I said, he starts on the 26th. I'm gonna go up, next week and start working on siding and finishing, putting tar paper on, because there's some key things there that have to happen before he can be fully, roughing that building in. So, I'm hoping by the end of the month we'll have tar paper up and at least a good portion of the siding on. So, I'm not gonna say done, but
Getting closer.
way closer. And it is a lot better, so.
Well, that sounds good. And I see we got a McKinsey update.
So there's not much to update on McKinsey. The architects did come through on June 2nd and evaluated what could be moved around, what couldn't be moved around. And per the proposal, they're supposed to provide you guys 3 blueprints to choose from. And then that'll give us pricing on what it's gonna cost if we were to upgrade this building to
Right.
a 50-year fire station for the next 50
Okay.
years. The next phase that they need is they need geotech. So
Right.
that's something that will have to be discussed and decide. Do the geotech, who's gonna do it, and then start pulling quotes on how much that's gonna cost. And I know from experience, it's not very cheap.
It's not
So,
cheap at all.
no, it's not. But they have to know how far down it is to bedrock or
By the
some
way,
kind of hard surface.
The old bridge, the new bridge, 160 feet with piling, never hit hard.
Yeah, yeah. So, other than that, they've been working on those blueprints. The main factor with McKinsey is they're trying to meet the grant deadline for December. They got started a little late, but they're positive that they can make up that time and still be ready to submit the grant to the state.
So we're gonna be able to get grant money to pay for this?
Yeah, there's up to $2.5 million for seismic grant funds that we can receive from the state for this project that's gonna offset our costs up to whatever they give us. So part of the proposal is that McKinsey writes that grant on our behalf and submits it for us with all of their technical information that they pull from the evaluation. That way, if we go out to the voters and we say we want to upgrade this building to a 6-bay, 50-year fire station, we can say that, 1, we have a grant already coming in because we should get the results in February, and 2, that means there's a remaining cost of this much for to do so.
So is that 2.5 million then pay for the actual survey itself? Or we would still be doing the survey, having to pay for the out-of-pocket?
We have to do the survey ourselves, yeah. The seismic, they can, if we were to do a bond and we're waiting on bond funds, they can still get, started with the seismic right away and then catch up with the rest of the funds later when the bond's clear. So, the whole point of the evaluation is to assess the building to see if it can be upgraded to a fire station that meets the community's needs for the next 50 years, and then be able to provide all the information needed to submit the grant for a seismic upgrade if we were to pursue this building.
Okay.
All right, I guess we're moving on then. All right, new business, surplus letter.
So, long story short, there was a ladder truck that was purchased a while back. The ladder truck was taken to a third party, almost like a consignment. That third party sold said ladder truck and obtained a check from the buyer. They gave the truck to the buyer. When we went to process the check bounced. We gave them ample opportunity to correct that problem. They did not, so we went up and we pulled that ladder truck back. So I wanted to make sure that before we put that ladder truck onto the same system that we've been using to sell all of our surplus for the last year and a half, I wanted to make sure that we went and officially surplused it, documented, and put it into the minutes that that truck was surplus through that document at this time, and then we'll put it up for sale.
So to sell it then, we have to make whoever buys it aware that
Yeah.
it's got safety issues.
Oh, yeah, yeah. When we put it up, we're gonna declare that it's not been tested, it does not hold any certification level, it has bent rungs, and
Right,
when
okay.
you extend the ladder
There's
contours.
no liability in nothing
So-
moving on.
Did
Yes.
you turn that check over to the county DA of whatever county that check was written on?
No, I did not.
That'd be a good idea.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess we're to the chief's report.
Can
All right.
I ask one more quick question?
Sure.
Do you recall what that ladder truck was purchased for?
So that ladder truck was purchased for $25,000 with a engine at the same time from Chiloquin. It was a 2-for-1 deal.
3-for-1 deal.
Or-
Yeah.
There was
yeah.
3 fire
It's
trucks.
before my time, so I've only know a little bit about it.
So yeah, we needed to get an extra tender, and pretty much kind of the deal was is we could get 2 tenders and a ladder truck, and we're all like, we don't need the ladder truck, but I guess we'll take it. So we took the ladder truck at the same time as getting the 1 tender we really needed.
I got it.
So obviously,
That's one of the tenders that we have in service now, then?
You know, I don't think so, because if I remember right on the paperwork for that tender that we just sold, that was actually built locally.
Joe's got his hand up.
And was
Oh, there you are, Joe.
yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
Joe,
I was gonna
what's
say.
up? Hey, Joe.
Hello, welcome aboard.
Yeah.
My name is Joe Barling, lieutenant here. I've been here for quite some time. So actually what it was, at least to my knowledge, is we got an engine and a ladder truck out of the deal. And the engine was what we needed, it was a Chiloquin engine. We came here, it was in really bad shape, head gasket blew. I replaced it, came back, still bad shape. And the ladder truck was kind of a big shiny object of why it was here, no reason. But it was just kind of a, here you bought this engine, we're gonna give you this ladder truck with it. Basically what the gist was with that ladder truck. My personal opinion, it was a horrible mistake to bring the ladder truck here, but I wasn't the chief and I don't know decisions. But, so, that's what I remember of it. So, yeah.
I think one of my points being about that with that question, oh, thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Is just regarding those kind of purchases is when obviously we're gonna make pennies on the dollar back on what we spent on those vehicles.
We
Is that
lost
correct?
our ass.
That's my point.
Okay, so that's a definite, because from what I understand, the engine, the Chiloquin engine is what was nicknamed. It was sent over to them to be sold. They were doing some work on it as they were bringing it back to the valley. Apparently it broke down, possibly the head was cracked or blown.
Oh my gosh.
So then it got towed over to Benton County Shops, and Benton County Shops did some work on it. And apparently it was given to the third-party consignment personnel in exchange for the cost of the work that they did, the cost of the tow, and the cost of the work that Benton County Shops did.
Okay, that's the engine that just got traded for,
Yeah.
so you didn't have to pay
Yes.
a lot of
Yep,
money
that's
out
the-
of pocket.
Correct.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to get kind of that understanding of the sad story.
So to kind of make sure that, because that wasn't done under my chief.
I understand.
That's not how those things work. So, for instance, when we purchased this last engine, the very first thing I did was I acquired approval from the board just to send our maintenance officer down to do a thorough evaluation of the engine. They were extremely good hosts. Took him out, let him drive it, let him pump it, let him go through all of the maintenance records, let him go through all of the vehicle, basically dedicated their shift that was assigned to that vehicle to Eric while he was down there, so that he could literally go down there and try to break it.
And I did.
And he tried, you know. That's kind of how the process is, then come back and then report to the board that this is what the evaluation was, you know, do we want to move forward? And so that's how that process needs to go, just going out and buying trucks and saying,
Yeah, exactly. That's what
hey,
I'm
I
looking
got
for.
And
I got a
that-
free
that
ladder truck
report.
out of it, you
Yeah,
know.
and that report, I will say, was
So-
excellently done. I mean, it was
Yeah.
multi-page, step-by-step with photos and,
Mhm.
and everything. I mean, it was, we were all pretty
Yeah, I
impressed.
definitely appreciate due diligence, so thank you.
Yeah, very good at that.
You spend the public's money, you gotta make sure it's being spent properly.
Exactly.
So,
That's
you
my
know,
take
Completely
on
agree.
it.
I think we may need to take action on this to actually declare that surplus, so.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that-
we do.
So that letter has the vehicle's identification information, it's VIN, the model number, and the current, what we believe is the current odometer. So basically, it just needs to be declared surplus, so that it gets put into the minutes and the document follows the
Can we
minutes.
just make a motion to
Yep, make a
make the
motion and
Seagrave
vote.
ladder truck
Alright.
surplus equipment?
Yep, I motion it.
Second it,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
get rid of it.
Get rid of it.
Get gone.
Gotta cut it out.
We
Be
did,
gone.
It's got bad juju.
My guess is somebody's gonna probably pick it up to scrap it.
Yeah.
well, just to give you an idea,
Even if we do. Cut it out, get it rid of it.
Well, just to give you an idea, we surplus the tanker out of Five Rivers because it was just scary to drive. The crews made me drive it all the time because they didn't want to drive it.
They weren't
It-
fond of you?
You literally, yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, but you literally drove it like this down
So
the
they need
road.
like the whole front end redone and everything.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, we surplused it. I put it on the site for $1,000. Didn't honestly think that we'd get much for it. I'm very honest. I'm not gonna, sugarcoat things.
Right.
We just cleared the sale and it just left just a few days ago, for $8,600.
Wow, nice.
So
Well, with fire season coming up, if it'll haul water,
So-
or I mean, fire season's here.
it's actually on its way to Orlando, Florida right now on a flatbed. It's gonna be parked there amongst many, many, many other tankers that this gentleman was buying for the Virgin Islands.
Interesting.
Oh.
Islands.
Interesting.
It'll be
If I was
moving,
farming, I would've bought it.
moving water to all the different farmers and getting them irrigational water.
Yeah.
So,
Well, good.
I have been,
They have to drive them anyway.
I have been watching ladder trucks about that age, and they actually are selling pretty decently. So,
They are too.
yeah, well, I'll be interested to see. I basically, since the money was spent many moons ago on buying them, I looked at what it cost us to get here because I did have to have it towed from exit 228 to Benton County shops. I don't even want to discuss that nightmare day. Anyhow, so I took that tow bill, what Benton County charged us, and added, some money. So I started then at $1,500. So at least we'll get that, even if we get one bid. The last fiscal year, what we spent on it, we'll at least get that back. So
Yeah.
that we're not any more money out of
Right.
trying to deal with this thing. So, and I included my time to go up. I put that all in that $1,500 to go up and get it, bring it back, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't need surplus sitting around.
no, we do not. So.
All right. All right, well then, guess ready for the chief's report?
Chief's report. So for everybody in the crowd, I'm Chief Mason, Fire Chief, and welcome board members, all. I still welcome the pre-existing, always good to see you. Going through my reports, I try to keep them relatively short, although if you want, I can go into detail usually with these things, but to keep the meeting from going forever, I usually try to.
Right.
So if there's any questions, just stop me in the middle and say so. So I already talked about McKinsey Group, the boathouse. We've been meeting with Roxy, trying to get to an idea of what to do with this within the funds that we have available. We pretty much landed on the fact that there's not gonna be a house.
Well, the cost is just,
It's
it's gotten crazy.
yeah, engineering costs are very expensive.
Yeah.
And so, the line item that was drawn up for that in our budget would have needed to be much higher. And from what I'm being told, it was never an official line item in the bond.
No, it was just to have something there for
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah, so we're working on limited funding. The plan that we've come up with now, and John Townley will talk in a little bit about the boat cover, so I won't go into that too much, but is to get a cover that'll protect the boat and put it on a jet lift down in our slip for the majority of the year. We'll pull the boat when we know there's gonna be, inclement weather,
Right.
storms coming in.
And then winter time mostly, it won't be, it'd be just busy season.
Yeah, just the busy season, the seasons when it's not gonna cause damage to it for being down there,
Right.
basically. Try to keep it down there as much as we possibly can.
Yeah.
So it's in a ready-to-go state. It does take us probably about 15 to 20 minutes to launch the boat.
Right.
When it's here in the station
Right.
and we have to connect and pull it out, so that's kind of what we're looking at now, is to have it down there on a lift system. It's a lift system that allows us to walk around the boat when it's up out of the water. The port has agreed to make sure that we have water for cleaning the boat and flushing the seawater out of it, and then also ensuring that we have power down there to maintain the boat, because there are systems on that boat that have to stay charged.
Exactly.
So I think all in all, it's a really good cooperation. It's just kind of fine-tuning the details and figuring out how we can afford what to do.
I've got a question on that, Chief. In
Yeah.
the meeting, in the minutes from last month,
Yeah.
on of the meeting, you state that the port is willing to step up with 50% of the cost.
Yeah, that's been talked about.
Okay, well, could you elaborate on that, please?
So Roxy had approached us and said that based off of what they're gonna have left out of the bond, there may be a 50-50 split. It hasn't been official. Roxy hasn't said, we're gonna do this for sure. We're still trying to pull pricing on the jet lift itself at this point. So until we have the pricing and know exactly what it's gonna cost, the official, yeah, we're gonna do 50-50 won't be determined. But that's what we've talked about at our meetings so far, is the possibility of doing a 50-50 between the district and the port.
Because Roxy doesn't know how much is gonna be left in the budget when they're all done, because they're still trying to finish up a few things.
We don't have a cost.
Yeah.
We don't know what cost
We
on
have
the
a
lift
cost,
yet.
yeah, exactly, so I know, when we
Yep,
were talking
until
about the
we have
budget
those
committee for
figures,
the port,
Yeah.
you know, Roxy was still like, we think we're gonna have money when she was talking,
Mm-hmm.
but she wasn't for sure. at
Well,
least
we
at
were
that
talking
point.
about
I don't know
the-
where you guys are at now with that.
Well, we were talking about the building at one time too.
Yeah,
And that ended up getting around $160,000 because the boat's so tall
yeah,
and the wind load and everything, and that's just getting, neither
Yeah.
one of us can afford part of, nobody can
No.
afford part of
Right.
that.
No.
Yep.
But I think the lift with the cover and power and water
Yeah.
is a,
We think it's doable, we can keep the boat maintained, it's out of the water, and then we really need to free the space up here in the station also.
it'd be nice to have the bay,
So,
the
yeah.
extra room.
Yeah, yeah. So that's, it's still a work in progress. Hopefully we'll get to an agreement where we're sharing funds, but until we know what everything's gonna cost and what's left over and what's available. I know for the district, we have a line item for the boathouse for $20,000.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what we know for sure.
Right, yeah, until we don't even know a lift price.
No, we
Do you
are
have a
working on it.
guesstimate of
We
what
are
a lift-
working, a what?
A guesstimate of what a lift price would be?
No, John's
Yeah,
working on
we
it.
do,
Did you get one?
we originally got, two different estimates along with the 160 for the house. One of the estimates they did for us was just the lift with a fence around it. We decided we didn't really need the fence. The lift alone, the way it was designed for a boat and 2 jet skis was gonna be $37,000. However, we've gone back and relooked at that and we're deciding we're not gonna do the section with the jet skis. So we gotta contact the company, get a new estimate. It's gonna be hopefully less. Unfortunately, they're saying costs are going up. So
Every day.
every day, yeah. But we're gonna try and cut it down as best we can.
So we don't have a price on the current plan.
But it's under 40 the way it was gonna be designed.
Yeah.
Now we're not doing the
Yeah.
jet skis, so
Right,
it'll be just for the boat.
right. We're also getting our own quote for the district and where I know Roxy was working with Bergerson.
Ferguson.
Yeah, so, we're talking with them about them coming in and installing it, the lift people themselves.
Right,
And see if that's gonna be more cost effective or not.
Right, it should be a pretty simple system.
Yeah, it really just
You
anchors
flood it,
to
you
the slip.
pump air into it to,
Yep.
is it air or water?
Air. So it's a floating lift, the boat sits on it and it fills with air, the platform lifts it up out of the water, it becomes a stable platform.
Yeah, no, I've seen the same thing, but normally it's like with water, you just run a hose basically down there. You just pump the big piston full of water and the thing lifts it out
Yeah.
of the water. That's the ones I've seen.
Yeah, and then when we need to deploy, we just hit the button, it drops it down in the water and we can just deploy right on it. It should cut our deployment time down
I
significantly.
imagine it's
yeah.
fairly fast.
Yeah, yeah. Astoria has one and seems to be working for them.
Well, they do have one up
Yeah.
there. I'd like to check one of them out.
Yeah, I have pictures, but I haven't gone up and seen it for myself. so.
Okay.
We talked about the surplus property, so I'll skip over that because we already covered that. Fire season, we're definitely in fire season today at the Fire Defense Board meeting. We had a pretty detailed conversation about whether or not to go into a full ban at this point. I think the determination was to wait until we know for sure that we can get state parks and ODF and everybody on the same page as the Fire Defense Board, so that we're not saying it's a full fire ban for the fire district, but then if you go to the beach, you could still have a campfire because state parks hasn't joined up with us. Or if you go to some of the campgrounds that are facilitated by ODF, you could still have a campfire because they haven't teamed up on that same stance. So we tabled it. It's going to go to those outside agencies and say, hey, can we all decide to pick a date to go into full fire ban? And one of the trigger points for us is when we go into extreme. We haven't quite hit extreme yet. We've been in high, and we've gone down to moderate as weather shifts come in and out, but we haven't gone to extreme yet. However, I could tell you, as being an incident commander on a couple of our fires recently, it's dry and the fires are moving. So we had a fire up Highway 34 last week, and it was at milepost 31, which is an unincorporated area between us and LC Fire. I went up there as a command unit. We sent 2 tenders and a brush rig up there also. We were able to stop the fire. However, based off the investigation the fire marshal's office did, had that fire reached the top of that ridge, it would have hit a wind shear and just ran that entire ridge.
Oh, yeah.
So we were lucky to stop it where we did, and that was the one that I'm sure everybody saw in the papers where it was started by fireworks being thrown from a vehicle. So, so very unfortunate. We also had a fire that was up Five Rivers Road quite a ways, up past the Lane County line. That fire would have built some significant momentum had it not been for the neighbors in that area using their tractors to slow it down and stop it to the point where we could come in and basically just have to do overhaul on that fire. So very fortunate for those people to have done that, because it saved us from a fire that would have started out as a helicopter and aircraft fire, because there's just, it's so dense forest up there. There's
No way to
nowhere-
get to it to fight it.
There's nowhere for us to anchor
No
in
roads
and have
or
a
nothing.
safe, a safe evacuation route for our firefighters. So we had to wait till they got to a defensive posture for us to fight it. So, so we're very much so in fire season. There's 3 fires so far this year that have been, had the possibility of significance. However, we've been quick enough to jump on them and stop them in their tracks. So hopefully we can keep doing that. Squad 21, so this really started back in about October of last year. We were trying to decide what to do with the ambulance. We reached out to FEMA. It's a FEMA asset until it reaches 8 years of its lifetime. So we can't sell it. If we were to sell it, the funds go back to FEMA, and we would only be able to recollect what our matching for that grant was. So fiscally speaking, that's not going to do anything for us. But FEMA did advise us that if a similar agency that met the same government level as us, so basically a special district, fire district, had a resource that was equivalent, that we could trade, and that they would basically just assume the rest of that FEMA grant process for that 8-year period to that district that takes ownership of it. So we started looking for what we needed. We needed a rescue that could carry our motor vehicle accident equipment, our tech rescue equipment, some medical equipment, and be a kind of a quick QRT for volunteers to jump in and go and move throughout our area and bring supplemental equipment for motor vehicle accidents or technical rescues to the engine that's either in front of them or already on scene. Depot Bay has a rescue, and they don't use it very often, and they were willing to do a trade for an ambulance. They brought it down here. We did to one of the board meetings where we were able to walk around it, touch everything, look through it. It's a great rescue. I've been around it for a long time because when I was up at North Lincoln, they had it. And so we took the ambulance up there so they could do the same thing at one of their board meetings and go through it. He called me, the Chief Daniels called me on Tuesday night after I'd already written this report, so that's why it says waiting to hear, and said that they've accepted our offer for the trade. And so at this point, especially with having the new board members, I wanted to present it before the board and get the final okay of, do we want to do that trade? And that would just be me turning in some paperwork to FEMA and talking with FEMA tomorrow, and then swapping out the vehicles and changing stickers. So,
I have a question on that. Is the emergency vehicle that we're trading, or possibly potentially trading for, is that going to be still held under that 8-year program?
They didn't say it would, but I can ask that tomorrow because that's not something that I asked them, so I don't have a...
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Changing,
about.
yeah.
Basically, we'd have to keep that rescue for the 8-year lifetime.
I would think that you would want, as a chief, I think you would want that option If you want to get rid of it or move on to something else,
Yeah.
you don't want to
We're
tie
gonna be
it up
getting
with.
close to the
So-
8 years,
It should be,
though, right?
yeah, it should be getting
That's what I was
close
just
to
gonna
the
ask,
year.
it's gotta be
Yeah.
close.
Like 1 or 2, maybe
Yeah.
1 or 2 years, because
20
we got that before I ever came on the board.
2024.
Yeah,
2024 is
That
okay, so
long?
two more years, or
Yeah.
three more.
3 more years.
The rescue, the nice thing about the rescue is that the box on it, as long as we take care of the box, it can be moved from chassis to chassis. So in 10 years, if we decide that the chassis is starting to wear out on that rescue, we can buy a new chassis and have the box moved
So
over.
the box is in good shape, it's on.
Yeah, as long as we take care of it, you know, and it doesn't get, you know, detrimented, like parked outside for 3 years, you know, something like that. We can move that box. I think that box will last at least 20 years before we need to take
That makes
consideration
sense.
of.
And we got to do a
swap.
touch a truck, it's really pretty.
So what year is this rescue?
It is an '08, it's got low miles, the price difference, so the ambulance brand new is about 162. The rescue brand new is about 250 to 275. So,
And what year was the ambulance again? So we got
It's
that
a
2,
16.
16,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, built in 15, but labeled 16.
right.
But its value is.
Super, for us, because we don't
So-
use it.
So to talk about the ambulance operationally, that ambulance has not done a transport in almost over a year, and the transport that it did do was not a full transport. It moved a patient from their home to the helicopter. It has not done one single transport for this community. It has cost us quite a bit to maintain the drugs that are on that ambulance. We do have a good cooperation with PacWest Ambulance, that if we catch the drugs before they expire, we can trade them. But that's only if PacWest has enough drugs to trade.
Right.
And a lot of times, the stock levels on those drugs are not always very high. And so they have to keep what they have to maintain the
Sure.
ASA level, and we end up with expiring drugs.
Well, and
that we
quite
have to pay
frankly,
for.
PacWest is our ambulance service, so.
Right.
End
And
of
we have-
story on that, right?
And the nice thing is we have 2 ambulances down here on a regular basis now, because Jeff in the back there, say hi, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Jeff Mathia is the general manager for PacWest Ambulance, and he just recently moved into the town.
Oh, well,
And
great.
so the ambulance that he uses as QRT for PacWest is here with the additional ambulance 903 that's normally stationed here with us.
Well, it don't make sense to have
So-
one sitting around, we don't use
Nope,
it.
sure doesn't.
We don't use it. When we do use it, we're required to hit certain staffing levels on it because of OHA regulations. So it means that depending on who comes down to the station volunteer-wise, it may not even be allowed to take out the door because of their certification levels for EMS-wise.
The truth be known, it should have never been bought.
I don't think it was Bob,
Yeah.
was it? Wasn't it a grant?
It was a grant.
It was a
It was
grant.
before my time, but I thought it was 100%
Well, it
for
was
the grant,
also,
yeah.
it was in a tumultuous time, if I recall correctly, in between when we were doing transports to kind of phasing out to the change of PacWest, kind of in that
I wasn't
round.
Yeah,
there.
I'm
I don't
pretty-
know. All I know is
Yeah, was that
Yeah,
right?
that,
I
yeah.
thought it was
Yeah.
100% paid for, that's why we had to
Yeah,
hold
yeah,
on to it
you're
for 8
right,
years.
but that was
so.
kind of in that little.
It was in
interim
that,
period.
it was in that
Oh, yeah,
transition period.
Yeah.
It's paid for
So-
through the grant. And
Yeah.
that's why it's got an 8-year lifetime on
Yeah,
it, is
yeah.
because FEMA holds that grant.
Well, I don't see any point to have an ambulance. I could see where a brush would be advantageous. I would have liked to have seen it myself and been able to look at it, or for us to have been able to review it,
Yeah.
but
You just said it was pretty.
Well, okay, it was, it's very shiny, but then all fire trucks are shiny.
Yeah.
The guys really
Did you
like
push
their
all the
brakes.
buttons? Do they all
But,
work?
yeah, and, one of the things that impressed me on it was the rings on it for rope rescue.
Yeah, it's
You
got
know,
built-in.
it's got built-in,
Oh, like to repel and stuff.
Yeah, for
side.
doing the-
Yeah, so
repelling
we,
and so on.
when we do an over the embankment
Right.
rescue
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
have to anchor off, it's got engineered anchor points on the side of it.
Well,
so.
sounds like it makes a lot of sense.
It has a
Yeah.
built-in generator for power supply. It does have telescoping scene lights for scene lighting. But it's really just a big box for tools. And that's one of the things that we don't have. We are jamming stuff onto the engine to make sure that we get everything on
Yeah, that's
scene.
not,
And
that's
Yeah.
not good.
we really need something that's really specialized, that, hey, we really need this to go on these car accidents, because
And a
I've got,
volunteer can drive that.
yeah, I've got cribbing that's sitting in the bay right now that's not on a vehicle because it just won't fit.
You need
We've got
cribbing.
stabilization struts. We have 3 sets of extrication tools, and 1 set's just sitting
So
on the
this would all
floor.
go on that truck then,
Yeah.
have all this stuff.
We're pretty much ready to equip it. Plus, we have the county rope rescue equipment that's sitting in a locker out there as
Well,
well.
it makes sense to me all
Yeah.
the way around.
Mhm.
But I would need approval to finalize.
I make a motion, you make the swap-a-rooski,
Okay.
A
however
second.
you want to call it.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Right, yeah, I think it makes all kinds of sense.
Okay, I'll call FEMA tomorrow and start finishing up the paperwork with them. ISO was here on June 29th. It was a really good evaluation. We were able to actually provide them training documentation this time. So we should be recouping points, quite a bit of points in our training area. We were also able to recoup the points for the reserve engine by having the 4th engine here now. We were able to increase our points because of our staffing levels and the programs that we're using to track our staffing levels. So again, I'm not going to guarantee that our ISO is going to drop down to a 4, but when we were last evaluated back in 2019, we were 3 points from a 4. So I'm hoping that we've recouped enough points to move down to a 4. 3 points doesn't sound like much. It sounds like, well, that should be really easy, but in the ISO system, 3 points is a bit of points. So
And what does that translate to for our community?
it translates to lower insurance premiums
By
by
how
the
much?
homeowners, property owners, business owners across.
It's either 10 or, I believe, Tim had said it's either 10 or 15%
Okay.
Oh, really?
reduction for
It's
each.
an
Nice.
average of roughly 10% per point.
Yeah.
Oh,
It-
wow.
There are different benchmarks, and going down to
Yeah.
4 is one of those benchmarks. So it might be a little bit more. What people need to do is when we announce that we've changed the ISO rating, they really need to contact their insurance and say, hey, our ISO rating's changed. That should be changing our premiums.
And that's one of the reasons why I was asking it, so that could be stated, is because I think that's important for our community members to know
Yeah.
for sure.
So when we get the official report, if our ISO changes, we'll make sure to do a big public
Yes,
release on that.
absolutely.
And then we'll provide instructions this time that it's really important that, the property owners reach out to their insurance and
Yeah, 'cause
say,
they're not going to.
yeah, well, a lot of times they won't call us and ask for an ISO unless it's starting a new policy.
Right.
So we'll get phone calls periodically, hey, somebody bought a house, they're starting their insurance policy, what's your ISO for this area? And they'll give us the address, we'll look it up and say, oh, it's an ISO 5. And then that's what it's based off of. Well, if you live in that house and you have that same insurance policy for 10 years and that ISO changes after 5 years, you've been paying on a whatever ISO rating it was for 5 years because it never got changed.
Exactly.
So,
Thank you.
right. So we hope to get those results soon. The Seal Rock got evaluated at the same time, so I assisted quite a bit with that, with training and everything. I do the training for Seal Rock, that's part of our IGA. And so I'm hoping that theirs will improve as well, because the IGA was a pretty big impact on their evaluation. So. Board training, we talked about. The one thing I just wanted to ask was, there is a virtual session on July 30th, not June. Are you interested in attending that? If so, I will pull the details and email them out to you.
I unfortunately I was looking at my calendar, I unfortunately am gonna have to do a different day than
Okay.
that. I definitely want to do the training, but unfortunately I'm already booked on that day.
They have other sessions, but they're in-person sessions after that.
Right.
So we just have to send you there.
What time during the day on the 30th?
I'd have to go check. I
8 to
had it.
4:30.
but There you go.
All day.
All day,
It's in all day.
What is it?
8 to 4:30, 8 a.m. to
Friday.
Yeah.
I can handle
And
Baker's
I
holiday.
don't know if it might be.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if it might be possible to record it or to get a recording of it. I mean, you wouldn't get the,
You wouldn't be able to
you wouldn't get
participate.
the interaction,
Right,
but you
so
would
the
at least get the
information.
information.
I'd have to ask George. I can call him tomorrow and
Yeah,
ask him. It's no
yeah.
big
Well,
deal.
I'm thinking, after how many months now with COVID and all the other online stuff that we've had to do and so on, that
Yeah.
the likelihood of that being available might be a little bit higher.
It should be, and that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, local law group they were willing to come out before and do the training. They're still willing to come out and do a training if we set one up, and theirs is just primarily focused on the legal aspects that the district has to follow.
And this obviously is far more in-depth.
It's actually shorter. He said he'd only need about 2 to 4
No,
hours.
the virtual one, not
Oh,
the
the-
ones coming out here.
The SDAO virtual is about being a district board member in general through SDAO special districts. The local law group is our attorney coming in and talking to you specifically about the legal aspects of being a
So we
board
need to
member in the
both.
district. Yes,
So we need to both, understood, okay.
right. So, I can reach back out to them and
Definitely.
try to get some tentative dates that might work for everybody. With them coming here it's kind of one of those where we gotta get everybody to come at one time, because we don't
That
wanna
would be
pay.
handy if we could do it that
Well,
way.
we don't wanna pay for him to come multiple times.
No, just
That's
one time.
expensive, so.
One time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, since my schedule is always rotating at the hospital, I generally have, my schedule a month, sometimes 2 months in advance.
Okay.
So, just for that, for working knowledge.
Yeah,
But
I
I don't
can,
have a rotating, like, week on, week off sort of
Yeah.
thing.
His name is Ross Williamson,
Mhm.
that's for our district, and, I'll try to pull 3 dates from, that are a
Okay.
couple months out.
Thank you.
We talked about new engine, or Eric did already, so I'll skip over that. Connex boxes talked about, so there's 2 Connex boxes on the property here. One houses our breathing compressor that fills our air bottles for firefighting, and then some extra storage. And the other one was kind of a collection pot of stuff. And we were gonna buy a Connex to put up a Tidewater. After going through the Connex here, I realized that most of the stuff that's in that Connex is not stuff that we need. It's just been stuff that's been tucked away because out of sight, out of mind. We've gone through, we've cleaned it out, we surplus the stuff that we had to surplus, and then we donated the items that could be donated to go to other countries that don't have OSHA requirements. And so most of that Connex is emptied out, so that's actually gonna be relocated to Tidewater, so it saves us from having to buy Connex for
yeah.
Tidewater. So,
Plus it gives you some more room out here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, yeah. The
A little
equipment
further
levy.
away from ocean air too.
Yeah. The equipment levy, so we have an equipment levy that's going to expire in June of '22. So coming up in this, at the beginning of this next fiscal year. The equipment levy right now provides us roughly $95,000 that's supposed to be spent each fiscal year for equipment purchases for the district's operations. I spent most of that this fiscal year that we're just closing out. I have the budgeted for this fiscal year that we've entered into to close out that levy. What the board has to decide is, do we continue that levy by renewing it? Or do we close that levy out and not continue it? Or do we change that levy to an operational levy and try to boost our staffing?
I would like to see us get a couple more firemen.
Yeah, so the cleanest way to go about that is we have a operational levy right now that's carrying 3 lieutenants and 1 engineer firefighter on it, plus the maintenance officer. I think that if we were to re-roll that levy for staffing, we should separate out the lieutenants from the firefighters, and so that way on one year we're renewing the lieutenants, and then on a different year we're renewing the firefighters, and they're not conflicting with each other in one levy or the other. So because we run 3 shifts, it's imperative that we try to balance out the shifts, so whatever personnel that we hire, we want to make sure that if A, B, and C shift are going to have 3, it's 3, 3, and 3, not 3, 3, and 2.
So what happens with our equipment then? If we don't have any more money, it's a levy for that, how do we keep maintaining our equipment?
So we've changed out a lot of our equipment over the last year. I've gone through and tried to make sure, updated our radios, purchasing nozzles, adapters, fire shelters, PPE, et cetera, et cetera. I've taken the PPE line item that used to be in that equipment levy and moved it over from our general fund. So that way it's always gonna be there, whether there's a levy or not. We have to constantly buy PPE.
Right.
It has a expiration date on it. We can't buy it and
Fudge on
Yeah,
that.
no.
and then hope it'll last forever. It just won't. So, I think that the key is that we're gonna have to decide when major equipment costs come forward of can we pull it out of our general fund, or are there grant options to go after to try to get that equipment instead of trying to pull it from our funds? If we don't renew that levy, we have to come up with a separate plan if we need to buy major equipment. Smaller equipment, we can fit that into the budget. We have enough flexibility to buy smaller equipment. If we need a hose adapter or a nozzle here or there,
Right.
Because one breaks or
Right,
wears
so you're
out.
talking
So
major
how many-
equipment.
I'm talking things that are like $40,000 to $100,000 to replace,
How many firefighters then would be on each shift if you're gonna shift that over to that same?
So
1,000?
currently our staffing, we have 3 lieutenants, 1 on each shift, and we have 1 engineer firefighter that hasn't been assigned to a shift because he starts tomorrow. Seal Rock is supposed to have 4, so we'd be running 3, 3, and 2. I wanted to get 3, 3, and 3 out of the budget. The numbers weren't there.
Gotcha.
So the only way to balance out the shifts and get to 3, 3, and 3 is to bring in
Change it.
different income.
How many more firefighters would that be then, that you're looking to hire?
To balance it out at 3, 3, and 3, based
Yeah.
off our current staffing, is 1 more
Just
firefighter.
one more.
Yeah.
So, okay. And
If-
then, I guess where my concern is, I'm definitely for more staffing, obviously. I think the days of back when they should run 1 person on a shift was ridiculous
Mhm.
and very unsafe. But on the other hand, you know, I know that we just bought a $100,000 engine, right?
Yep.
And then things do break, and I remember hearing you say how old all of our other equipment is, and it has to be maintained all the time.
Right.
And I'm hearing all the time how we're having to send other things up, and we're buying this and fixing that, and trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. So to get rid of an entire equipment levy, that doesn't seem prudent. At this point in time, since we have some time, these are all things we can consider, and obviously we don't need to be making those decisions
Right.
at this
I
time.
think I'd rather almost see us decrease that equipment levy by a certain amount. We vote on that the next thing, and then the next go around when we are looking at, the staffing levy, then we would increase that to be able to accommodate with the idea, right? I mean, in theory. The other thing we can think about is if we end up going out for a bond for a station or whatever, it's a big if, we could throw some equipment into that bond, correct?
Yep.
Which would be part of the plan. So that would kind of carry us, in theory, over 5 years or whatever, until we got to that next equipment bond levy, right? So this would all be kind of planning and strategizing as far as our timing, as far as that goes, because you don't want to let a levy go, right? Because when you
No.
let a levy go,
Don't
right?
wanna let it go.
Nobody
Exactly.
wants
You're
to.
not gonna get it back.
Nobody wants to vote it back in,
Nope.
right?
Nope.
So, in theory, right, you would, if we went for the bond, we would balance that out. We would have the equipment that would carry us the 5 years. And then you would basically, you could technically turn that in, like you said, to, a staffing levy.
Yep.
And then, down the line, the other one, or when we renew it, we turn that other one into a bond. And then we have them separated, basically. We still have exactly what we're looking for, in theory, but we use that bond to carry us over that 5-year
So-
gap to be able to secure it in the same fashion.
You can do one and the same too.
Yeah.
With an operations levy, if you do you plan ahead for the 5-year lifetime of that levy, you understand that we have personnel services costs that are gonna cost us such amount for level of firefighters, and then you can have additional funds in that operational levy for materials services funds that can buy equipment as well, just not capital equipment.
Right,
So
And
you
then-
can't buy fire trucks, you can buy, but you can go out and buy.
See, that's
a
where my
thermometer.
concern is.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
So then the other part of that, I mean, the moving part of this whole thing, right? What's Seal Rock gonna do, right? In theory, because if they're gonna increase it, we're gonna increase it. Then
So-
we're gonna end up with the same thing where you're gonna have, 3 and 4, or whatever may be the case.
so they had a meeting yesterday that I attended, and Director Holt and Director Pinky attended also, and they voted at that meeting to retain their 40 cents per thousand, correct me if I.
Yeah, they're gonna stay with what they had, and they are gonna put on 1 more firefighter for sure.
Yeah, they're supposed to have 4, currently they have
Yeah.
3, and that's part of the original plan.
Right.
So with them having 4, us having 4, 1 more firefighter would balance it out, to 3, 3, and 3 with 9.
3 and 3, okay.
And then we dropped to minimum staffing 2 if somebody called in sick or was on vacation, and not incur overtime until we drop below our minimum staffing.
And when do we have to make the decision on this?
We would probably need to make a decision by next month's meeting. I believe the first round for the ballot for just the title starts in either the very end of August or very beginning of September. I'll call Dana at the county and try to see if he's got dates yet for the next election.
And that's
in
the
November.
throw it in the November, so that gives us May,
Right.
in theory, right?
Right, yeah, so when you find that information, if you can get that out to us sooner than later, so that we can take a look at that. I don't know if we would need to do another special meeting to have a further discussion about this. And I think it seems broader than our current meeting at the moment.
So at the point I'm looking for direction, if you say, Chief, we would like you to come to the next board meeting and present us with the personnel services costs for 1 firefighter, 2 firefighters, or both, if you want me to break them out.
I'd like to see for 2 if we could.
And then
Or both.
a percentage of equipment that we'd like to retain each year in that levy as well. I can do all the numbers, and I can provide the math for what it'd go to, all the way down to a cents per thousand assessed value to do that, and then break it out over
Well,
5 years.
it's quite evident that we have a labor issue.
Yeah. We
And
need
the
more
thing
fire.
is, not to rehash the past, but when I was at Dump Punk here, the fire halls down there, when I was on the fire department, the thing is it started rolling in the mid to late 70s, where the state come up with all these kind of requirements for volunteers and that type of thing. And it's no disrespect to you volunteers, because I'll tell you what, you have to meet the same requirements and you're giving your heart to it. So that to me means everything. But the thing is I came from a city that is volunteer in Lafayette. The thing is they got the sign out, they're running banners and campaigns. It's not to discredit any volunteer, but it's like the city of Lafayette, they have to call McMinnville during the day because there's nobody there. Now, after 5 o'clock, they got a full crew. And I think we probably find the same thing here. But the thing is, we've got to, at least in my opinion, we have to get a base of labor here for 24/7 coverage, and we bring everybody else in to supplement. So that's my opinion, for, that and $5.75 to buy a coffee.
So I agree with that. I think staffing is huge, but I also see that our equipment is huge. And
Right.
again, I think this conversation is broader than this
Yes,
meeting
it
at this
is.
point in time. I think it would behoove us to try to maybe set aside another special meeting where we can have a more in-depth conversation with this and really hash that out. And I think then we could give you some direction. I think we should probably do that meeting sooner than later.
Well, in between now and then, Jamie can find out when we have to have the ballot titles.
Yes, and the times,
Yeah.
the times for that.
And I can start providing numbers too, if you want to get that head start on that.
Any numbers are always appreciated. The more knowledge, the better.
I'll just do it general for 1 firefighter, 2 firefighter, I'll just
And
stack.
equipment.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and then, yeah, a percentage for equipment, yeah.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
Um,
I liked your ideas, Kevin, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was a good idea.
The last
Yeah.
thing I have on my report is we're holding an open house and a recruitment campaign that's going to be on July 24th from 11 to 2. Our personnel will come in probably around 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning to start setting up. The majority of this is to allow the public to come through and see the station, number one, because there seems to be a lot of questions about the station and what condition is it in, and where's the living quarters, and how are they distributed, and how does it function. The other is to set up our vehicles on a static display for people to come and see the vehicles. The kids can monitor, but climb through the passenger compartments. They like to look around inside. And then hand out some free food to people and just meet the public and try to hopefully gain a few applications for
I
volunteers at
think
the
that's
same
a very
time.
good idea.
So, yep.
Now, how are we gonna advertise this again?
So we've already started the advertising. We changed our billboard outside that says, come join us for the open house. We've put a flyer out through information station, the community page, and our Facebook page, and our website. So we have a banner hanging on the building right now, but that's more directly towards recruitment, not so much the open house. Just trying to get the word out, not only social media and as everybody passes the station, but also word of mouth as well with our people.
Quinn, is this something that you guys would report or help advertise for us? Yeah, okay, that would be helpful, thanks. And has anybody considered radio doing a PSA?
We can consider it and look into what it would cost and what we'd
I think a
have
lot
to
of times
provide.
the public service announcements are free, aren't they?
I don't know.
I don't
Okay,
know.
we can find out. All right.
So a couple years ago, my mom was in charge of Beachcomber Days, and she had me do a couple of advertisements. Radio is a hobby of mine. I'd be happy to put something together, and all I have to do is ship it off to the radio stations up in Newport, and I think they don't charge for
I didn't
stuff
think
like
so.
that.
Well, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Especially if they don't have to produce it.
Well, you know, again, I think everybody listens to the radio at some point in time, so
Yeah,
it's a
no, that
broader
would be a good
audience.
way to get it out there.
Yep,
Mhm.
so we can
Thank
do
you, I
that.
would really appreciate that.
Are there any other recommendations for trying to get the word out, whether it be recruiting or whether it be for the open house?
I'll just say it's a pretty tough battle, man. I mean, most
Absolutely.
people are pretty busy.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people that do have the time are willing to do this. You know, they might seek it out. I just think, gosh, I look at my life and I look at a lot of people's lives I know, and the amount of training and all the stuff you guys have to do is insane. Like,
Well, and.
I don't know. I just don't even know how you guys fit it in your days, to be honest with you.
It's-
Like, I don't even know how you do it. So,
It's evolved
And given our
into a-
demographic, a lot of the people that have the time to be able to do it
Yeah,
Yeah, it's really
really are
evolved
not
into a second
capable
career.
of doing it.
I hear you.
Most of our volunteers are well over 50, and the ones that are well under 50 have 4 jobs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the issue right there.
All the more reason to advertise as much as humanly possible and
Yeah.
spread a big net.
That's it for my chief's report. So-
Thank you.
Well, the president's report next. Can I just comment about something there, or should I wait till the comments at the end?
Up to you.
Okay, well, the purchase of the fire department. That's a big deal. We're talking about $1.2 million that the city wants us, the fire department, to buy this building. And the taxpayers already paid for these buildings once. So I want to really pursue some outside legal counsel to see where we actually stand on this issue. Because asking the taxpayers to pay twice for something that's already been paid for once is not going to go over well with the taxpayers, in my own mind. And this needs to be pursued, and what I'm asking for is the okay to go ahead and pursue this.
So one of my questions would be, have we sought out legal counsel?
Not that I know of.
I'm just asking the.
I don't think
board
it's been
members.
pursued.
no,
Okay, so
it has not.
I just want to make sure, because obviously since we're new, we don't know all of
Yeah,
that.
but,
But otherwise, without that, I would definitely say that. I think to move, again, we're thinking of our community members.
well,
we're thinking of their
taxpayers, everybody, and
taxes.
that's $1.2 million.
That's a
And if
lot
we
of
could
money.
buy fire equipment with that, would be way better than buying a building.
I completely agree. The board has two options to go about this. One, the board could make a motion and vote to select a board member to independently, on behalf of the board, go out and seek a representative through the legal, I'm trying to be as very vague as I can, to find out how much it would cost and what they would provide to us. Or you can just give me the direction to go out and find somebody and bring that back to you. It is my recommendation, I would like to see the board basically vote in a member of the board
I think
to
we'll
reach
use
out.
with a board member, I think.
Yeah.
But you got
So-
enough on your plate. and-
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I think even a couple of us could do it. I mean,
You can, as long as it's not 3.
yeah, exactly.
Yep, two is the max, otherwise you become a quorum and then you
No, we don't want the quorum.
Who would be interested in doing that?
I would.
I'd do that with Todd,
Well, then I would.
unless you want to.
Kevin?
I would motion.
If you want
that-
to take my spot, you're more than welcome.
No, so here's my only thought about it. Here's
How
my
about
only
him?
thought. Yeah, so here's my take on the whole thing, right? So I don't know, depending on what legal counsel, right, obviously could save us a lot of money, depending on what they say. But in the end, will it matter, right? So we gotta ask, we've got the people that are selling this, they're the ones, right? All right, are the city council people gonna say, oh, well, I guess you're right, we're just gonna give it to you, right? And they're probably not gonna say that, which, my understanding of how it all started, right? The fire hall was built by the volunteer fire department, right?
No, the city of Walport.
The city of Walport.
The city of Walport built the building.
The fire department?
The city of
No,
Walport.
city of Walport.
Taxpayers
I know.
paid
The
for
building.
it.
But I thought the volunteers basically
No.
helped build it. No?
No.
Okay, well, either way. So, I mean, still doesn't kill the idea. Are they going to be like, well, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and give it to you? I understand that you're taxing people twice. I think that's BS. I thought that was BS from the beginning. But understanding of what Dan Cutter is saying, right, is that he's saying they don't have a choice because they're under regulation. I don't know if the regulation is
Dan
correct.
Cutter's saying that.
Yeah.
Dan
But see,
Cutter's
then-
saying
then
that.
here's
I don't
the-
understand that. I understand that, but I'm just saying, how much are we willing to pay a lawyer to go and research this and put time into this, and then we end up in the back of the same situation? I guess I'm just wondering what our willingness is to pay. And I
Right.
don't know. My willingness is maybe like
My-
$10,000 bucks. It would
Right.
be nice to know.
My opinion is on this whole thing is we as a board, if we don't go and do our due diligence and
Yeah.
not just accept Dan Cutter's verbiage as the gospel, the thing is we are stupid.
Yeah.
And it's not anything against Dan Cutter or anybody else.
Yeah.
But
No,
the
I
thing
agree.
is, unless you know, I think if we allocate, say, $10,000 for this or whatever it may be that we come to a consensus on, but the thing is at least we know.
Yeah.
We've done our due diligence, and we can look at these people here and up the river and everywhere else and say, we did our part.
I understand
But until
that. I
that
just don't
point,
want to go
we're
down
done.
to pipe. I just don't want to go down a whole long pipe, kind of like I felt like we did on Tidewater Station, a whole long.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I agree with you on that.
I just don't want to go down a million different roads and then we're still back at the same spot where we were to start with, like redoing a frickin' fire station is
And I'm
basically.
certainly not against spending, money on legal advice either. But what is the question that we're going to ask our legal advisors to answer?
Do we have to purchase this price or purchase this building for the city's demand price?
Because if Dan Cutter is saying, this is the regulation, Dan is presenting us with this thing saying, this is the regulation and this is why we have to sell it to you for 1.2 million. Is that regulation in fact pertaining to us as a district? Does that regulation in fact exist towards us, and is that legal? And if not, and also what were the other legal ways potentially around that? And if we have those answers, then maybe, yes, if Dan's gonna say, well, I don't care what they say, it's still gonna be at $1.2 million.
Well, it'd be up to city council,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah.
well, yeah,
But at least,
but-
what we could do at that point, right, let's say we
Maybe
do find that
educate
out,
the
in theory,
community.
we could then, like you said, put pressure on city council
Yes.
saying, hey, you wanna tax your people twice, that's fine, but we're gonna let them know, right? In
Right.
theory,
So,
if we found that out.
Right.
so couple recommendations. One is whoever the two people end up being the ones to seek out the legal counsel, I would recommend that you actually form them as a subcommittee to be the two that actually go and talk to the city on behalf of the board when you do get your results for what legal
Agreed.
says. And then based off those legal results, we should entertain the idea of doing our own appraisal again.
Obviously.
To make sure that if we're speaking just straightforward on due diligence, to make sure that it matches up.
Yeah, we don't have a true appraisal. We have an insurance appraisal, is all I've seen.
All right, so I think Todd also asked if you were interested, Kevin.
If we only have two, probably the better. We can only have two, because we don't want to communicate with
Right.
more than two.
Correct.
Right.
But the thing is, if you want to change out with me,
No, you got it. You're the man. You're the man. But thank you for offering. I will
right.
make a motion to say
Buster and Todd.
Buster and Todd can represent us in looking into legal counsel and the expenses to determine whether the city is correct in their
Proposal.
Jan proposal.
Yes,
Or
their
their,
proposal.
no, because we're trying to figure out if that 1.2. So before you put that in the minutes, Jan, let me think here. Whether their legal determination of what needs to be paid is factual, I suppose.
I second that.
They all in favor?
Aye.
So be it.
If you're gonna form a subcommittee, you have to do a vote for the subcommittee
Okay.
as well.
Ooh, for you guys?
Yes.
Yes, so
Kevin,
I
gotta take
motion
mine.
that Buster Pinky and Todd Holt be the subcommittee for everything, quote unquote, that Kevin just said.
Represent the board. You got that, Jan?
Since I quoted.
Jan,
Word
it's
for word, Mom.
a subcommittee to work on behalf of the board to communicate with the city regarding the purchase of the building.
Perfect, thank you, Chief Mason.
That sounds better.
Much better.
the church is.
Put that in the minutes.
But I think it needed to be brought out, and I think it needs to be addressed, because that, $1 million figures are being thrown on like nothing. And $1.2 million to hit your taxpayers with, that's a big ask, you know?
Yeah.
You had me sold it, I'd rather spend money on fire trucks.
Well, there
so,
you go.
know,
I much rather would,
yeah.
yeah, so.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I guess that was my president's report. Anyway, any questions from the citizens or viewing audience? Go ahead.
So I'm Kay McElroy. I'm a retired insurance business owner in the community. Was raised in Yama. Raised my family here, and I'm very connected with everyone on the river. So I've been talking to them about not being protected. Let's talk about the ISO rating. I've only been retired 4.5 years, and I don't believe this has changed. ISO rating is also based on the size of your home. Silver Rock is 5, Yellowhead's is 5, Newport's 4, Walport's 6. Anything beyond 10 miles is an 8, unless you have fire hydrants.
We are a 5 district-wide. Anything beyond 5 miles travel distance of a fire station is a 10.
Right. And the whole purpose, the money was spent to put in the tank up Five Rivers and supposedly fix the Tidewater Fire Station, was to extend that to the tax-paying base that's up the river. Now, I've spoken to a lot of them, and they're paying for nothing. And they've been paying for nothing for quite some time. And they're not happy. So maybe the ISO rating is 5 now, I'll talk to Paul, the insurance commissioner, or maybe some old company, but.
Yeah, or I can give you Dave Hyman's direct contact. He is our ISO rep for the one that did the evaluation.
But the fact remains, anybody beyond 5 miles is an 8 and most likely a 10. The point is, they were promised they wouldn't be. And this prior board, you have to hear wrong, so I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say, there's a lot of cleanup. And to get the trust back, people are unhappy up there. Why not? Now, in regards to purchase of this, that for sale that Dan Cutter put out there and said, oh, we had an appraisal. Well, that is the exact same appraisal ISO that I use to insure commercial buildings. That's how I come up, or we come up, with a replacement cost value. Just like I do your home, or used to do your home. If it burned today, so anybody, with everything going up and the wood price going up, you better get your homes reevaluated, get that homes up. If timber's out of control. You need to check these things out. But it's the same stuff. It was not. So that's a conflict of interest, in my opinion. It was also, he came to the fire board and spoke to the fire board. Right? I wasn't here. Some of you are.
Dan?
Yes, when his comments and stuff has said that.
I think he's only been here once, and that was a long time ago.
But he met with the fire board regarding the cell and also came for the seismic testing. So no, back. If you would turn long enough, that we're sitting on a bank of sand. This is gonna liquefy down here. All right? So if we're gonna get grants, 2.2, whatever you guys are talking about, and I'm not grant writer, I do not understand what's that. Then we should seriously look somewhere else.
So you're not eligible for the grant if it's a new building?
Well, then we might have to look at something else. But in regards to a real appraisal, it's going to take over 6 months to get a true appraiser in here to appraise this building. Y'all have had theirs done, and it came out to $500,000, what they decided. So that took a long time. Their question was, should we do it again? You know, I don't know, but I, as a taxpayer, and people at River aren't going to, we talk about purchasing the site. But those people have to purchase it even after you pay for it. Any other city usually helps out their fire department. It's a service to the city. And people are talking, you know what? Dissolve this, CPF, dissolve it. Let the city take it back over. Save us all money. Let them worry about it. What do you think about that? Is that the right move?
Do what?
People are angry. Regards to Tidewater. Bob and Darlene Hodge owned that. They were my clients. They bought and refurbished coast to coast. And if anybody has any history, they understand the amount of money that they put into that whole coast to coast, the extras, the store, the house across the street. When Ken developed that property, he had the King Street moved and found out that it was going to be Jordan who put a system in there. And the septic system there, right now, is still. And it's still. It's not possible.
Well, we're not buying it anyway.
That's why the property most recently was listed for $40,000. Because who you go with, you couldn't do anything with it either. The other thing is, when that construction was going on up there, and me lot of contractors. I never saw it go out to bid. So who did the work?
It went out to bid, we went through our legal to ensure that we made sure we follow all procurement laws for Oregon.
Okay.
It went out to bid, and we did receive some bids, but because most contractors were, and I'm assuming, working on Echo Mountain and all the stuff that we had, we didn't receive bids on everything that was out to bid.
Okay.
So we reached back out to legal and said, if we can't get a bid to come in, do we have to keep the lead work and we do the work ourselves? And they said, if it's one of your employees, you can do the work yourself. So we went out for the permit, got a permit through the county, and we've been doing everything that legal said we can do ourselves. And we've been bidding out, like electrical, we can't do ourselves.
Right, of course,
We had to bid
electrical,
that out.
plumbing and that, but I went around the building and there were no plans posted. That was something I would do.
It's on the door upside down in the back. It just got moved. I apologize. I'll put it on the front. The
Yeah.
permit's there. It just
Okay.
recently got moved. It
Well,
was
that's good.
When we replaced one
Because
of the
that was
doors.
a big concern for me and a taxpayer, because that's a huge liability, huge. Because we have to be up to code and rated correctly and have it done properly by people who are licensed. And if your legal team says that's great news. So those are my points. We need to do a lot more work here, and I hope all of you are ready to do it. I'm not gonna roll over and say, oh, I can see it was valued at 2.2 and we'll appreciate it in the 1.2 and maybe. Or that's what you paid for it. That's unacceptable. Totally unacceptable.
You know, bottom line is we
And
don't
that's
have to
a-
buy the building either.
I appreciate your input.
We got any other questions or comments from the viewing audience?
What about, Facebook?
Nope, I just checked. We got nothing.
All right, well, I guess we'll go on to board member comments then. Todd, you want to go? Rita, you got something to say?
Not really.
Okay.
I guess I'll say, glad to have some new blood on here.
Yeah, well, I said that.
It was great serving with the passport. I respected all those guys a lot. I grew up with those people, especially Tim, Grady, people I always respected. And, but I always think it's good to get different perspectives, new blood, more energy. And so I'm super excited to have you guys here.
Thank you.
And, yeah.
I'd like to clear the air. I've heard a lot of gossip going around. I mean, it's pure gossip that you were considering resigning.
It's a possibility, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush.
The other thing is, all I'm going to tell you is I respect, I've watched you in some meetings via outer space.
Internet land.
And I know your genetic background. I know your grandparents on both sides. And I think you're an asset to the board, and I would hope that you would consider that.
Yeah.
But if you choose to move on, I'm okay with that too. But I think you're an asset to the board.
Thank you.
So
I agree.
you choose to leave, that's your business, but that's my 2 cents. And-
Yeah, and it wouldn't have nothing to do with you guys.
No,
I
I
know that.
I hope everybody
I know
knows that. As far as
That's
drama
your
goes,
family.
it's literally, I've been talking about this with the fire chief for
A while.
6 months. Just having a new kid at home, I've been like, what is going on?
I
But,
see you
we're
with your
getting
kids,
through the
yeah.
initial parts. And so I'm just taking it meeting by meeting, and, I still love this district, and so, I'll be here for a while, at least a couple more meetings, and we'll see what happens with my kids and where my life takes me. But, yeah,
Well, my opinion, I would certainly appreciate you staying, and I've always respected you.
thank you very much.
I do have a question for you, Chief. What is the status of our rescue boat? What is the status of our people that are certified, not certified, or who?
How many people can run it?
How many people can run it?
We have 4 operators who have gone through our in-house training program to get signed off and checked off to drive it. We have a water rescue plan to bring in a surface water rescue class. Now, that doesn't have to do with the boat so much as just water rescue in general, so that we can get a certification for water rescue that EPSST offers that matches with what we actually do.
Do we have people here that are capable of, or
Wait.
not capable, take that back.
Certified.
Certified.
Yeah,
Go on.
Cody Johnson, stand-up Cody, is actually the water rescue team leader for our district. He matches up with John County. who was with Steel Rock. Of course, John's been here for a long time, recently got hired by Steel Rock union now, so can't be a volunteer anymore, but still is on our team. And they're the ones that head up the majority of the training. Cody Johnson is actually a certified surface water rescue technician. And so the long-term plan is we want to develop our own curriculum in-house so that we can teach it to all our people and not have to pay money to outside instructors to come in and teach it to us.
Do we have somebody?
Are we gonna let them sit back down?
Oh, yeah.
Do we have somebody right now certified to run that boat?
Yes.
What's that?
All 4 of the operators that we have are signed off, documented training, meets all of SDO's requirements to operate that boat. There is no certificate that specifically outlines rescue boat for open water. There is a maritime certificate for using boats out at sea. And the checkoff on that is less than what we do on our checkoffs for our in-house documentation.
So you guys wouldn't have any reason to use swift water rescue certification, especially like out in the bay with tides and stuff?
No, that's open water, so surface water. Swift water is for whitewater rapid,
Gotcha.
fast-moving streams. You know, the LC can, you know, especially during the rain season, can get high and can get some pretty good velocity to it, if you will. But we haven't expanded. These certificates, they kind of piggyback off of each other. So the first certificate we would have to get here as a basis is surface water rescue. You can't move on to Swift until you've got surface. And then when you move on to Swift, you also have to be a rope rescue technician to get certified in that as well. It's a prerequisite for that certificate. So,
Thank you.
We done with comments, Ed?
Well, the only thing I want to say is y'all probably know me from being pretty vocal for the last 5 years or so. I'm very, very happy to be here, and my intentions are to serve our community members and support our firefighters and do the utmost best that I can to serve y'all out there. So, happy to be here.
I just want to say, I want to see the best come forward in this fire department. I've been in this community my whole life. I grew up in the fire department, my dad, my uncles, and all them. It means a lot to me. I just want to see it be as good as it can be, have the best equipment we can have, and not fleece the taxpayers anywhere. If we do need to go after money, I want to be upfront with them, down to the penny, show them what we're laying out there, you know. When on the port, when we went and passed our bond, we laid it all out there down to the penny, and sure, you're going to get the complainers no matter what you do. But you got to be totally honest with the public.
yep, and all of you sat through the the budget presentation that I did. I hope I was very, very descriptive in everything that we're doing with financials. I can tell you that being newer to the district and coming into the programs that were not here when I got here and where we are today, I'm very proud of our responders. They have taken on a tremendous amount of training over the last year and still have a ways to go. We are not where we need to be. It took me 3 years to get North Lincoln Fire and Rescue back on track for training when I went there. It's going to take a little while for us to get exactly where we want to be overall with training here. And we're really, really working hard, and we're making that good, steadfast approach to do that. We were on the wildland fire the other day. We pulled our crews up. Our crews came up full PPE, packs, shelters on. I had people, I'm not going to say who they were from or with, what agency or none of that. I don't play those games. But I saw people come off the firing line with no packs, no shelters, no tools, half PPE. One guy came down with a chainsaw, no chaps, no protective, nothing, no goggles, no gloves. And our crews came up and they were ready to go to work right away. They knew exactly what they had to have with them, and they got up on that firing line and they helped secure that line to make sure it didn't hit that wind shear and then come into our district, because it wasn't that far out of our district.
Right.
I'm very proud of our firefighters. They've taken on a lot of training from me. We've brought in training through DPSST. We've brought in training from locally, and we have a long way to go, but we've been doing a really good job. And we're responding on calls. We had 6 calls not long ago in less than an hour, and all 6 calls were handled by all of us between Steel Rock and Central Coast working together under the IGA. We did not have to call for mutual aid from Newport to handle those calls. That doesn't mean we don't. We do call for mutual aid from Newport when we need it, but it's something to be said that we were able to handle 6 calls in less than an hour with our own personnel. The 3rd of July, I did an all-call for anybody that basically did not have vacation time pre-approved through me already. They needed to be here, and that included the volunteers, and the volunteers stepped up and met that. Of course, I can't require them to be here ultimately because they're volunteers, but they stepped up, they came in. We staffed 3 engines, a brush rig, and our medic unit for that entire day to cover any calls that happened during the Beachcomber event, the fireworks that night. Our boat was up, excuse me, our boat was out on the water to make sure that the safety cordon underneath the fireworks was adhered to alongside the sheriff's office. That's something to be said. There's not a lot of uniformed people sitting in the crowd right now. No. There's not. But that represents the majority of us right there. And they're here doing it. They're doing the job, and they're behind me all the way to make sure that all the calls are covered and that we're providing service to the communities that we're protecting and the communities around us, because we've been running a lot of calls to assist Yachats when they need us. And we've been doing a lot of mutual aids up in the Newport when they have fires and they need us as well. And we've become a go-to for mutual aid for them because 1, they know our engine is staffed, so it's ultimately immediately available. And 2, it's coming with trained personnel. So I'm very proud.
Thank you.
I'll let you in on a little bit of my background. I was actually born and raised in Wallport, Oregon. Graduate class of 1980. Oh, God. Actually, Kay's husband and I graduated together. But anyway, I'll tell you some of my character flaws. I got laughed at by Sil Rock yesterday because I told him, I said, I'm sorry, but I have this undulled drive in my body that I was in sales. I was a dairy farmer, and then I got into sales for 24 years. And I don't lose, and whoever I'm associated with, we're number 1. And the thing is I told Sil Rock, sorry, but Central Coast will be number 1. Until, the beatings will continue until morality improves. That's a joke. It's okay. But the thing is I'm honored that the community voted me in. I've had a passion for this area all my life. I mean, obviously, my great-grandparents moved into Harlan in 1908 and then into Wallport or Beaver Creek area in 1918. But the thing is that's irrelevant. I want to see the community grow. I want to see you guys grow, and I want to see the community support you. I have had I've been a taxpayer down here for years, but I just moved down here a year ago. The man that I took over his place and his house and so on and so forth was a 35-year member of this fire department. It meant everything to him. And the thing is with that, the thing is I know all the politics, I know everything that's been going on, and I want to see us move forward. And if you think I live in the past, you're talking to the wrong person, because I don't. I'm a very fishy person. I'll support you guys 110%, but the minute that you step on my head, I'll fight. So the thing is we need to build a winning team. And obviously the chief has gotten the groundwork done on this. If you look around your other districts, they're floundering. And the thing is the end result is there's been continual financial chaos at other districts and in our own past district. We have to overcome that. And if we're going to go to John Q. Public, we got to have a reason, moral turpitude, and the desire to succeed. Because otherwise we don't have that formula in place, this place is going to go down. And as far as if it comes to that, then turn it over to the county. But the end result is I'm here to support you guys, and I will be behind you 100% as far as myself personally. I'm aware of the other board members. I think you have all of that. But the thing is we got to be by the number and in cadence. And also realize that the board that I see right here is an open book. Because if you guys want to know anything about my dirty little secrets of the past, ask me, I'll tell you. So the thing is I'm looking forward to this, because we got to take it to the next level, because right now it's floundering. Not because of what you're doing, it's because it needs to go to the next level. And I think the current board is able to do that. And I've got my opinions on other things, but that's irrelevant. So the thing is if you guys buy into it, I'm willing to buy into it. So, here we go.
Yes.
I agree. I'm looking very forward. As you said, there's plenty on my plate already. I'm looking very forward to having a board that's going to take on some of the things that can take that level off of my plate so that I can focus on operations and the answers can be brought in that need to be brought in.
Again, that's another thing that needs to be stated very clearly. It's the board's job is to set policy and to set the guidelines of what you do. The thing is then you follow through with the day-to-day operations. There's no reason for any of us board members to be down here bothering you.
Well, and we don't mind if you come down, have a cup of coffee, and say, how's it going? You know,
Well, I agree with you on that too.
No problem at all.
You get my point. The
Yep.
thing is we're here to support you and your troops. And the bottom line is you're our one single employee. This is the board that directs you. The thing is we give you the tools. If you succeed, fail, or otherwise, that's on you. But the thing is, we have a job as a board to support you every day in what your endeavors are. Because if we fail you, you fail. And when you fail, we fail.
And we won't let him fail.
All right.
So here we go.
Okay, well, I think we took care of the comments, huh?
Yep.
I think good of the order means comments, right?
I actually have just one quick thing.
Okay.
In regards to the email, if you don't put it where you can access it from a regular computer or your phone, please log in often and check it often, because there's a lot of times we'll send an email that is time sensitive, that needs a response quickly. That has been a problem, not getting responses. So that, on my part, you can find out a lot easier. So
But I will make one comment on that. Please, with no due disrespect, don't ever send an email to me that says hello. I don't take it well.
And I will also mention that we should all remember to use our official email
Absolutely.
for all things that are
Board
related
related,
to.
fire related,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, the new one we gotta get set up.
Yeah, the new one you have to get set up.
Yeah, all set.
That our communications should be on that. It makes it much easier for tracking public records requests and that sort of
It
thing.
also makes it more transparent.
And I don't want my personal computer or my cell phone to
Being
be,
taken.
I've already had
Yeah.
a personal experience of that being on a planning commission.
yeah.
So,
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Gotcha.
so from here on out, the only email that I will send anything to is your Central Coast emails. Once you log into it, you will see the board packet in that as well,
Okay.
because I did send it to that
Yeah.
one. If you do need to send an email out to everybody on the board, just to schedule a
Yeah.
meeting or something like that, you can do board@centralcoastfire.net, and it'll send it to all 5 of you.
Really quick while we're talking about email, one thing that I've seen mistake has happened in the past is replying all.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we're in
just
communication
gonna
and
mention
let's
that.
say he sends something out to all of us, don't reply all of us, because then it'll become a meeting.
Yeah.
We can only respond back to him or actually one board member technically
Yeah,
speaking.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So-
And I did that most recently with the agenda, and I did it knowingly, because I wanted everybody to know that, that was the order of the agenda, or how the agenda should be set up. But if it's anything to do with anything,
Yeah, I send out emails to the board quite frequently when I need direction or guidance on something. And when you reply back, you just need to, just to me, and then I can reply to all of you.
But
You
we,
just
if
can't
we do, it's
reply
like we're all getting together and
right,
So-
otherwise, yeah,
forum and all that.
yeah.
It's considered a meeting if we already.
Good advice.
It's called a serial meeting, it's
Yeah.
a legal meeting.
As far as your comment, Todd, about coming down,
What's that?
as far as your comment coming down, I've talked to Catherine about a little bit about this. I invite you guys, not as a group, but individually. And no, don't come down for hours on end and, but come down. Because when we come to you at a workshop over a new fire engine, or we come to you over something we've discovered over the building, if we come to you, you already kind of have an idea of what's going on. Instead of, okay, we've got 4 hours here, we've sat here and talked, and we're trying to cram in 30 days worth of what the heck happened. Well, if you stop by and have a cup of coffee and, hey, the engine's having some issues over here. Let me show you this piece of pipe that I just took out of it. That kind of thing. It gives you kind of already a heads up and it gives you a chance to meet all of us and get to know all of us. And that, I think, because I'm a very personable, I want to talk to you. I like to see faces. The mask thing drove me nuts. It gives us all a chance to become a good team, a good, strong team, so that we can all move forward and go into that upward thing. That way, we're not just sitting down at a 4-hour, 3-hour meeting once a month going, hey, Buster, how's it going? Hey, Tom. It's, hey, how's it going? Here, come have some coffee, Let's chat for a little bit. You
I'm
follow me
very
around.
interested in equipment, because I owned equipment all my life.
Well, come on down. I would love to walk through.
I understand equipment and the maintenance and all that stuff.
Yeah, come on down. I'd love to just,
Yeah, and
after
how,
all, 40 minutes.
I was a treasurer for the Yamhill County Historical Society, for what it's worth, that most people don't realize that it's about a $10 million business. But I would meet with the volunteers on Saturday morning out at the Heritage Center. The only reason I ever did that is because, being the treasurer, I paid the bills. Okay, so the thing is they'd give me a synopsis of what the hell was going on, and we talked back and forth, so I had a pretty good idea when the bills came through what was going to what. Not that I was out there trying to tell them what to do.
No, not direct.
Because I'll never tell you, Lieutenant, I'll never tell you what to do, that's his job.
Right. And I'm still inviting you down. Come check out the fire trucks with me.
All right.
Come check out, a drill. When we're doing a drill, just come hang out. Just so you can see what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. Because I will say, I started under different circumstances, and it's because of this guy right here. He's got this support. It's the way he's putting things together, and it's been because of him. It's not been a pretty thing up until that point.
We know there was some
We know
I'm just
the
gonna put
history.
that
serious
there.
problem.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you.
It also gives Wendy an opportunity if she has checks that need to be signed, for you guys to sign them. I don't typically sign checks unless it's an absolute must.
We'll have to get to the bank too then.
Yeah.
Yep, and she'll usually email it or call one of you and say, hey, if you happen to be driving by the station, if you could swing in real quick and sign.
Yeah, I'm pretty convenient, I'm right across the street.
Oh, you're right there, yeah.
But finding that second
What bank
signature
is it
can't.
we go to?
It's Oregon Coast Bank.
Oregon Coast?
Yeah. But, a lot of times it's been difficult for them sometimes to get that second signature.
Oh, I know, the Lions we deal with.
I drive by all the time.
And then if, you don't get that second signature on time and get it out in the mail on time, then we start getting late.
Late fees, yeah, so.
Well,
Right.
Thinking about that, Wendy, not when I took it over, but the prior treasurer for the Historical Society took over, we were anywhere from 120 plus days out on bills. And the Historical Society had horrible credit. And the thing is when I was previous treasurer myself, the bills went out I processed them every Sunday. But the thing is credit does matter for this district. And the thing is being the treasurer, quote unquote now, the thing is we pay our bills. We pay them on time. Yes, according to my direction, that's what we do with ours, so.
And just so you know, all our credit cards are secured and they're through our federal ID numbers.
Yes.
I did not understand that yesterday at all.
Yeah, I don't know why. An organization can put it under their tax ID.
Yeah, why would you put your own personal
I don't
information
know.
out for?
I don't know.
The district has an EIN number. And the thing is when I heard that yesterday, I went, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
But I made mention to it.
Okay, well, I think,
Good to the order. I wanted to give John a minute to.
John,
Oh, I was gonna say, we're getting a little restless, we're probably time to close pretty soon, so.
he wanted John to say something.
I wanted to give John just a quick minute to talk about the boat cover because he's the one who's been doing the
Oh,
work
sure,
on it.
sure.
And so after he explains it, I think this is something that we should probably get soon so that if we do need to, we can move that boat down to the port.
Yeah, it could sit there in the water even without the.
Yeah, so we could put it out of the port if we needed to.
Right. Okay.
So I wanted to go with a local company. That way, if there was any questions about material or whatever, we could go right to them and look at it. There's two companies in Newport that do custom covers. Called both of them. One of them was too busy, didn't want to even talk to me. So we ended up with Cutting Edge Canvas on 53rd. Very nice fellow. wanted to a quick deployment, be able to get it off quick, put it back on quick. And he came back with an estimate, and I gave Wendy a copy for your office in your packet. So, it comes down to the estimate for the covers, $3,645. Now, if you look on page 2, he sent me a description of the from the manufacturer of the actual fabric that he's using. It looks like it's really good stuff, very strong, waterproof polyester fabric. And the only thing he did say to me was, do not go with the red. We were looking at going with a red cover. He said it fades out really quick to paint. So,
Oh.
Not a bad thing.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to run out, look at some of the other colors that he has, and then go from there. But yeah, this is something we really like to do.
I did talk with him briefly, when he was here on the materials, and he had samples. That was really the only thing we ended up having to bid, and my reasoning behind that was every other material was so much heavier and harder to maneuver. So for a quick deployment, to tear off the cover real quick, the lightweight material was going to be really.
What's the longevity in that compared to the
You're
heavyweight?
saying at least 2 years.
Okay.
So is this something that budget would cover, no
So
problem?
this would come out of our line item for the boat that we have, the 20,000 that we have for the boat.
Yeah.
As I consider that one big project. I can spend the money on it, but I'm asking for the board's approval, I think, for this.
Yeah.
Because we are gonna.
Our busy season is just about here.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to have a discussion with the board on how much money, we're gonna put forward. This obviously takes a little bit out of that
Right,
chunk.
right.
So I'm putting it forward before the board to give the approval, even though the money's already there.
Well, it'll get the boat down there. And
Yep.
The fishing season's just about on us.
Yeah.
And that's, it's gonna be 2 months, it's just gonna be
Yeah.
packed down there, so.
And it wasn't that long ago that we pulled 2 kayakers out of the water.
Kayakers, they
Got
think
it,
they
that's
can
right.
paddle against anything too, and they've learned and they can't.
I would just say buy something that's gonna, even if it costs more, trust me when I know about like boat covers,
Spending money on boats?
they break easily.
Yeah, they
Because
do.
you're always gonna have them under load, so I'd rather spend more money now. Personally
Yeah,
speaking,
Yeah, really, I mean, the material really came down to, it's just so much heavier for anything. And he seemed very confident that this would last 15.
Well, then would we get a warranty with that? That'd be my concern. I understand heavy, but I also understand I have a boat and I have a cover.
Right.
And I also understand that somebody told me it would be fabulous and it would work forever and ever and ever.
never to,
Yeah.
And it didn't, surprisingly. So I have to agree with Kevin that, I know that the cumbersome part for you, I mean, is there a way of trying something out? Is the heavy really gonna be that much harder to put on or take off?
Well, I mean, the whole reason we're moving the boat down there is for
Speed.
deployment. And
I understand, but are you sure it's gonna be that much more difficult to go on and off just because it's heavier?
I don't have the number in front of me, but he did tell me the pound difference, and it's substantial. I mean, he has the dimensions, we can get another material spec for you guys, and you guys could, feel the material yourself. I can give you those numbers, but
I'm not a material person. Come on.
I trust you.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just
thumbs up.
mentioning, I was just agreeing with Kevin, I just wanna make sure we're spending the money wisely, so we're not spending it twice.
Your worst problem is seagull poop down there.
Yeah,
So, maybe the tan or off-white.
not black.
Well, anyway, you're gonna have it down there, you're gonna want it covered.
Yep. So, can I make a motion
I don't think we need
to
a motion.
proceed?
I don't think we need a motion, it's in the budget, I think.
Yeah,
in the
I know,
budget.
but, well, they wanted
General
board approval,
consensus, it's in the
so I
budget.
guess
I don't need a
consensus?
motion.
Okay, consensus, yes, we need it covered.
I'd
We need
say
a
we
cover.
need a cover, and they're the guys doing it, so
Yep, we're
let's
good.
do it.
All right, are we ready to call it?
Is that it?
That's all I have.
I think so.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting then, and thank you all for coming.
What do you think, Jimmy, you wanna go golfing?
Huh?
Wanna go golfing?
I don't golf.